Well, good afternoon, everyone. Hey, I want to thank everyone for coming today. I know this is a little bit different time. What I want to try and do is move around my workshops as much as I can. Different time frames. I know 7 o'clock doesn't work in the evening for a lot of people, 7 Central. Um, so I want to shift them around a little bit and see if we can find a happy medium so that most of everybody gets a chance to attend them live. So I want to say thanks to those of you who made it today. Um, Feel free to send me any kind of a note that when it works for you the best. Maybe this is the time that we want to do them all the time. I don't know. So, hey, first thing I want to do, let me cover just a little bit here about Trader Vision. Um, the four trades that we had worked on, and I've got two planned for today. The four trades that we had worked on, let's take a look at them here. First, SGY. Let's take a look at that trade. As you can see here, SGY triggered. Sorry, let the screen catch up there. It triggered on the 28th for 150 shares. We were only trading $1,387 of the account, $1,388 of the account. And these two of the targets triggered on the 30th, and one of them triggered on the day after. So that was the result of the trade. If those of you haven't seen these, and these were the workshop trades. Now, I don't want anybody to think that we're going to have this great results every time we do one. I'm going to do my best, but don't think you're going to get a 100% winner every time. This time works good for Lisa. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Thanks, Lisa. This was the TDOC trade. TDOC just had a single target, one entry on the 28th at 1333, and an exit right here at 1537. You can see that one did 398.02. Really nice trade. One day, how about that? That's not the norm. Don't want anybody to think that's the norm. We had an extraordinary run up, and those trades just worked really well. So that was really sweet to have happen. Um, PVG, the PVG trade right here. Let's go down here to the actual so you can see the actual. We got in on the 28th at 1029 for 220 shares. And you see we had two exits on that trade. And here's the end result, 226.83. And remember, our target when we started was $78 per trade. And so we are beating that pretty nicely right now in just the first four trades. Yeah, I wish, Mark. Wouldn't that be nice? 100% all the time? Wouldn't that be nice? CYTK. Okay, let's take a look at CYTK. Now, CYTK has only triggered the first target. Okay, so we've exited the first at the first target for basically double our goal, and now we're waiting on the other. Now, if we look at the chart, right now, let's look over here. Currently, CYTK is holding 165.50 in unrealized gains. So we certainly could take that right now. Let me show you what I've done. If we look at go back to TradeView here. Sorry about the bouncing around. You can see that I've adjusted the stop loss right here to $9.65. And I recorded when I've moved the stops down here in the notes. So everything is up front and right out there so everybody can see it. And let me show you what that looks like on the chart. There we go, finally. Holy moly. Okay, just a second. Let me close some stuff. I must be banging my... I've got too many things running here. Okay, we'll see if that improves things. CYTK, this was our first target, and it reached our target this day. Ran up there, hit our target. And you know, it's really not a surprise when you get a stock that runs up and hits a target. When you're using the chart and you're looking out here at, and I'm going to go to the naked so it's a little bit clear. You go out here and see the resistance on the chart itself, and that's where you set your exit is right at that or right before that resistance. We were triggered. The trigger was at 1012. That stock, the high of the day was 1013. How about that? One tick past where we set that resistance, and that's why I like to have that resistance set just below that area, and we got triggered out right away on that. Now, I know a lot of people bailed on this candle, were scared about this candle, and I suggested that we needed to stay. Look at the BOP here. The BOP is still looking good, and we rallied nicely in toward the, you know, just a beautiful T-line run. If you look at the T-line, it's just running straight up the T-line. Today we're getting our first pullback, and stop loss, what did I say the stop loss was? 965. I think it's right about here. Right about there. So we'll give back part of our gain, the unrealized gains, if we get stopped out there. But I'm doing that for the opportunity to hit these upside targets. Because if we hit those upside targets, look what happens to the trade. We go from a nice doubler on the first target to doubling on the second target and not quite on the third. So I'll give back a little bit of those unrealized gains for the potential of hitting these upside targets. And right now we're looking okay, nothing to be overly worried about. So we want to keep with that trade. Now let's take a look at our goal view here. And you can see on our goal view that we had a goal of $78 on every trade. Now notice that that's already adjusted lower because we've done well better than our goal in 4 trades. So it's at 73.34. I like to keep it the same, so I'm going to keep saying it's 78 no matter what that becomes. All right, and you can see our white line here, and we've got 921 and those unrealized gains of 160 something, puts us over 1,000, and really we met our goal, or right at our goal for 15 trades, but we did it in 4. So this is very doable. This is no magic, no fancy stuff here. This is just really honest trading and very simple trades, weren't they? They weren't expensive trades. There wasn't anything fancy about them. So anybody can do this. And the great thing about the Trader Vision is it puts you in control of that stuff. Lets you see the trade, which you're actually risking, and puts you in control of that trade. So if we take a look at performance now against the SPY, For just these 4 trades, we're smoking the SPY. Now, that's not fair in just 4 trades. The SPY did 2.15% while we were in these trades, but we did 13.16%. And we haven't taken part of this out yet. So this isn't abnormal if you work to trade conservatively and you plan your trades carefully. Now, will we hit 100% of our trades? Of course not. We're going to have losers. Right Way Options today took a loser that was a 14.4%. But we have a 70+% winner in Intel. We have a 24% winner at the close of the day in Apple. And that's what we do. We're going to take losses. But the trick is keep those losses small and let those winners do their job for you. Let them run, let them work. And that's all we're doing here. There's really nothing fancy about that. So having covered that stuff, I wanted to open it up here. Is there questions on the use of Trader Vision 2020? Yeah, that's true. If we calculated in those results that haven't been realized so far. When do we get to make 4 entries? I don't understand the question, Coach. Oh, I see what you're saying. Right now we're set up for only 3 entries. You're scaling in. I don't know. That would be a question for Ed to see where something like that might be on the list. You would be on the outside of that. Most people don't do more than 3 buys. How do you set your initial balance? I can answer that one right away. Go to your setup tab right here. Okay. When you open up your account, the opening balance goes right here. So you'll give your account a name, whatever that is. And you can see you can have multiple accounts, whatever. You can create account for anything. There's your opening balance. So that's where you set that. This is where you also set your comparison ETF symbol. You can, it doesn't have to be an ETF. You could put in Microsoft. If you want to track yourself against Microsoft, you could do that. But put in your tracking symbol, whatever you want to do, and then put in your commissions. Okay. This is where you put in your bias for direction. Some people just want to trade long. And all this does is default. When you open up Trader Vision, it defaults to a long trade. It forces you to choose a short trade. This is where you set the max that you're willing to lose at the stop loss. And then I set mine plan duration 20 days, but everyone knows that I'm willing to let mine go much longer than 20 days to make my trade work or make my trade happen. Okay, so it all depends on how the market, the stock is working, how long I'll stick with a trade. If it hasn't violated stops, hasn't violated my rules, I'm likely going to stick with it. So that's how you set that up. The cell does not accept a number. Do you have a new account selected? Put in a name and enter that number there. It will accept a number. Trust me, we must be pushing something or doing something wrong. Make sure you're on the right account. So if I select this account right here, I can change this balance. Okay. And if you need some help, let us know. We'll get you going. Carl, if you go to the trade log, go right here to your status, right here, click on it. You just sorted it by that. That's simple and easy. You can sort it by any one of these. So if you want to sort by entry date, sort by entry date. Just click on entry date and it will sort by that. Cool. Very cool, huh? Does everyone know about the feature that you can print this information out? Let me show you what that looks like. I have to resize the window here. But let's say you want to keep a log at the end of every month, a binder at the end of every month of what you've done to track your results. There you go. Just hit that print button. You'll get something that looks like this, and you just send it off to the printer. Same thing is true in the trade view. If you go to trade view and click print, just a second, I'm going to have to resize this so you guys can see it. Your entire trade gets printed. Your entire setup. All the detail you could possibly want for your binder to track your information. One other feature that I think is really awesome, and I'll just go ahead and use this trade on CYTK. If I click this button right here, it says copy to clipboard. Let me see if I can move this up just a tiny bit. So you'll lose a little bit at the top of the screen, but you'll catch a little more at the bottom of the screen. Don't want you to miss out on what I'm clicking on. There we go. If you click copy to clipboard, just click it, you won't actually see anything happen. But clicking it has copied everything to your clipboard of your computer. Now, if I minimize this and go to my chart, CYTK, and I'm going to grab a note and put a note out here on my chart. Now that note is set really large, so I'm going to change that to about a 12 font. And I'm just going to highlight this and use my Control V, which is, you have Control C to copy, Control V to print it over. and you see the entire setup, the entire trade plan is right on your chart. Whoops, I moved it too high. There we are. So there's my trade plan, always right on my chart. That is very cool, very handy. If you're trying to remember what you've done, don't have your Trader Vision open or whatever, your trade plan can be right there every time you take a peek at your chart. Coach says, wait a minute, do that again. He says, what? Yeah, it'll work in TOS. Anything that has a note that gives you the ability to put a note on your chart. Okay, so I'm going to do it again. I'll throw this up. Go to this button right here, copy to clipboard, and just click it. That's all you got to do. You won't see anything happen, but it copied your entire trade plan. Then you're going to go to your chart, and it doesn't matter, as long as you have the ability to put a note in your chart, you should be able to do this. And I go grab a note. Okay, there we go. Put a note on my screen. And I had this set to 20 for something. For some reason, I need to reset it or you won't see the whole note. So I'm resetting it to a 12 font. And then all you do is highlight where you want to put this information. Click in there where you want to put the information. Hit Control V. And your entire trade plan goes to your chart. So it'll go right on TOS, whatever you want to trade it, clip it to. Yes, sir. That's an awesome, nice, awesome little tool to be able to have that. Now, if you don't know your keystrokes, I'm going to put this on here so you guys can write this down. Control. That's your control button on your keyboard. Control plus C will copy anything that you have highlighted. So, and this is for anything that you do, Word or whatever. You highlight it, you do Control C, and it will copy it to your clipboard. To paste it, oops, I can't type today. Okay. Control V, after you've copied something to your clipboard, hit your control button and your V key, and it will copy it. So once you have your note over there, you just highlight where you're supposed to put that text. After you've copied it to clipboard with just clicking that button, then you'll just do Control V, the whole thing gets copied. The whole thing gets pasted right there. Okay. Any questions on that? No, I can go to any chart I want as long as it's pasted to your chart. You come back, your node is still there. Thank you, Gigi. Paste it to your chart, it will stay there. Sweet little feature to have. Okay, now how many of you would like to test a pattern to see if it works? Okay. Been thinking about putting together a video on doing something like this. Just go over here to your setup. Create a test account, or you can create whatever you want. Put whatever name in there you want. Maybe you want to test the round and bottom breakout pattern. Maybe you want to test, whatever it is. Put that over there. Put some money in the account. Set up your rules and how you're going to trade it, just like you always do. And then go into your patterns. And you can choose your candlestick pattern. You can choose whatever you want. I don't care where you put the criteria, but let's say you want to test the round and bottom breakout pattern. You want to test it with the 3 EMA crossing the 8. All you would need to do, let me show you, under long patterns here, I put in 3 EMA crossing the 8. Now the way you do that, let's say you want to test MACD crossover. Okay. I'm just going to click new. Watch what I do here. I'm going to click new. MACD crossover. And I put a description in here, whatever you want for a description. Maybe it is the 12 crossing the 26. Whatever you want it to, whatever it is that you want to track. Put that in that list. And then in this account, and you can put MACD crossover, you can put your 3 EMA over the 8, you can put the 34 over the 50, you can put any indicator or whatever that you would like to have in there. And then you go back and you start looking at round and bottom breakout patterns. You start putting round and bottom breakout pattern trades in here, in the trade view. You plan them. And every time you plan a trade, every time you plan a trade, if I go over here to my to my signals, right there I've got a MACD crossover and a 3 EMA crossover crossing the T line. I can put those in any one of these boxes. You just save them in there. And then you can run this account as a paper account, paper trade account. Where was the entry? Plan it though. Do it just like you would a normal trade. Plan the trade. There was my entry, there was my stop loss, these are my targets. These are my signals. All right. Maybe it's candlesticks you want to test, maybe whatever. In the patterns, you can put anything you want too. In that box for patterns, go back to setup here. And in your patterns, you can put anything you want in any of these boxes. Okay? So my long patterns, if I wanted to put something else in here, I could put that in here. And then when I find my trade and I want to test this against my trade, all I have to do is when I'm planning my position, I just register that as my position. Okay? That's it. Just register that as my position with it. Let me show you. I'm going to go over here to stuff where I've had more trading and things going on. And go to the performance view tab right here. Go to performance view. And then I go to long patterns. Well, you can see I'm running my patterns against a pinball, a consolidation, pullback opportunity, round and bottom breakout. There was nothing here, and I don't know why I didn't record something on that one. But they'll all show up here and they'll give you the stats. Notice that every time I pull the trigger on a round and bottom breakout pattern here, what's happening? I'm getting an average rate of return of 10%. A pullback opportunity, I'm getting 13.48%. So you can test any indicator, any pattern, anything that you want to test. Test it in a paper account. Test it over and over and over until you're confident that that's what you want to do. And you'll have all the stats that you need to prove that it's working or not. How cool is that? You cannot back test. No, Linda, we don't have back test ability. This is being recorded and it will be sent out to everyone, so everyone will have it. Okay? Everyone that we sent the invitation to will get this recording and you'll be able to watch it again and again. So by making this, and this is what I say about it, it's kind of like when I talk about a trade. If I give you guys a trade, just like I did, how many of you traded any of those trades that we gave you the last? Did anybody trade them? That's okay if you didn't. I'm not trying to beat anybody up. What I'm trying to say is you're going to see a trade differently than I do. Okay? I know Coach is going to see something differently than I do. All right? He's going to trade something different than I do. So what you need to do is make Trader Vision your own. And what I mean by that is set up the patterns, the things that make sense to you. Set up the candlestick signals. And by the way, they don't have to be candlestick signals. They can be anything that you want in there. All right. You can put anything you want in there. Make it yours. Make Trader Vision test for you what you want to see. If I go back to the workshop, you can see I've got these in here. There's only 3 closed trades. Okay. There was a bullish W pattern, there was a consolidation, and there was a pullback opportunity. Look right here, expectancy. Expectancy is telling me, now this isn't fair with just a single trade in here, but let's say you have 25, 30 trades, bullish W's, and you look at this expectancy and it's showing you 14.8% every time you pull the trigger on average with a bullish W. But the consolidation is only showing you 2%. Well, what would that tell you? You need to stop doing this and do more of this. Or what if one of them is just showing you flat negative? You trade this pattern and it just beats you up every time you trade it. Isn't that something you want to know? Well, this software will calculate that for you and show you what's working for you and what's not. Now, how would you like to have something like this that every time you pulled the trigger was a 21% return? That'd be pretty sweet, huh? And then it averages them all together. It also averages out your average wins. Look at this. It tells you exactly what's working and what's not. That's the power of the software, is get in there and dig in there a little bit. Become that power user of it. Make it yours. Don't make it look like mine. Don't make it look like Ed's. Don't make it look like Rick's. Make it look like yours. That's what's important. How do you trade? What indicators do you use? What is important to you? Prove that they work. And as long as you put that stuff in there and you go through the plan and set up the plan, put your goals in, you set up a plan for your trade, I guarantee you, you're going to have a lot better results than you've had before, because it's going to prevent you from chasing. It's going to prevent you from overtrading your account. It's going to prevent you from a lot of different things that cause you trouble. It's going to give you those signs and those warnings. That's what you want to find out, right? That's what's going to improve you as a trader. Putting this information in here, working through a trade, figuring out what you want it to do, and then massage it until it works. Every time I put a trade in here, I am surprised. Sometimes I'll put a trade in here and I just can't make it work. I thought it was the best looking chart out there. I can't put it together. I cannot make it go. It's not going to come together. We can all improve our trading if we do just a little bit, take a little bit of effort, and step up and make it your trade. When Rick puts out a trade in the morning, I'm actually kind of amazed at how many people are critical of his trades. He'll put something out. Well, don't you know that this is, what's happening? If he does or he doesn't, that doesn't matter. That's his trade. Make it your trade. Don't copy his trade. Make it yours. Because only then will you find out what's working for you and what's not. Does everyone understand that? How important it is to make this your trading. Not someone else's. Massage that trade until it looks good for you. Don't make a trade just because Rick says it's a good one. Don't make a trade just because Doug says it's a good one. That's bad business. Make your decision if that's your trade or not. Okay? So, having said that, let's talk about a couple trades. Because we have to get through these. For tonight. Okay, this trade, I'm going to pull up the chart, SCTY, so you can see the chart. Here we go, SCTY. We've got a stop. I'll put the T line on there so you guys can see that real quick. You can see we have a rounded bottom breakout potentially occurring. Now, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of hard to find trades today because we're up so far. We're likely to get a little bit of profit taking or a little bit of pullback. A lot of things are extended, so it's hard to find really good setups for today. But this is set up well enough that I think we can make a trade on this. So taking a look at, you can see we're above the 50-day moving average. The 34 is crossing up above it. The 20 is crossing up through the 34. Price is above the T line. We had a bearish engulfing yesterday, but look what happened. We have an inside day. So what would this look like if tomorrow this stock opened in here and then ended up closing above that line that I've put in there? What if it did something like this? Is that possible? Well, if that would occur, I want to buy it if it crosses out above there. So here's my trade. And again, make this trade yours. Okay. I've got the SPY trending up, and I've got the long term. The SPY is above the 50. 50 SMA is rising on the SPY. I've got an indecisive doji. I didn't have inside day on here, so I used an indecisive doji as my candle signal. Round and bottom breakout pattern. And here is the rules of the trade. If SCTY opens less than 2501, so I have to watch the open, then place an order to buy SCTY only if it crosses above the trigger of 2501. Okay? So that's my rule. Now, I'm busy in the morning. I can't watch the market all the time. So I will look at this first thing in the morning. If it opens below my trigger and above my stop, I will enter this trade to buy it only if it rises above. It'll be a conditional order. Now, if you cannot watch the market, you would enter that as a stop limit order. You would use your stop is like 2501 and your limit is 25 and a quarter, something like that. So it doesn't gap above and take off and then pull back. So you could use a stop limit order, but it's a conditional order. I don't have to watch it trigger. Those trades that I just showed you in the Trader Vision trades, I didn't watch any of them. I didn't watch them trigger. I didn't watch them trigger out. Once I'm in the trade, once the trade is in, my stop loss automatically drops in place because I put that in when I enter my order to buy. As soon as I'm in the trade, as soon as I have time, I should say, and I'm in the trade, I go onto my brokerage account and I set my 3 target exit orders and chain them to my stop losses. So they're an order cancels order, which means that if this one triggers, it automatically cancels the stop order for this many shares. Okay, so they cancel each other out and they just automatically trigger. I don't have to watch them. They just rise up and trigger and I'm done. That's what I want to do. So this is 150 shares, and notice that I'm trading a little bit heavy here in my account. You'll have to decide if you want to trade it that heavy. You may have to adjust this to make this work for you. And could we adjust this? Heck yeah. We could easily adjust this trade. Because we're only looking for $78, remember? So could I make this work for that? Absolutely. Tell you what, Bill, I will after we're done here. I'll explain stop limit. All right. So if we get triggered out on the first part of the trade, 134.27, not quite double our goal, but certainly better than our $78 goal. Second target is going to almost double our goal. Third target, about the same as the first. Overall 11.31% if we can get that, and that's 426.55. Now there's no way I know that this is going to trigger and this is going to work. So the question will be, what happens if it gaps down tomorrow and it's below your stop? That's no longer a trade, right? If it flounders around in this range for several days, what do? Every day I come in, if it still looks like a trade setup, I enter the order just like I did before and wait for the trade to trigger. It doesn't matter to me if it takes a week. Yeah, the max loss in the trade is 240.98. Percentage loss 6.42% on the stop. So adjust this trade if you don't like it. Could you guys let's do this. I'm gonna play with this right here in front of you guys. First I'm gonna clear these out and get rid of this. Could we do 75 shares and make this trade work? Well, 75 shares puts us below our 3%, right? I would say most definitely. So let's go up and let's do 100 shares. So let's just do a 100 share trade. 2.51% of the account using 100 shares. That's doable, right? For most people, we're only using 2,500 of a 25 or a $100,000 account. So I'm going to come over here. Remember, our goal is 78 bucks. Can we get 78 bucks out of 50 shares? Yep. We get $87 out of 50 shares. So that hits our goal. Could we decide to sell all 100 shares if that's what we want to do at that first target? Yep. That would double our goal. Notice right down here it tells us to reach our goal, if we sold all 100 shares, it only has to go to 25.85. The stock only has to go up 3.36% to do it. But let's go back. Let's do 50 shares here. And what if we sold 25 shares here? And remember, this is taking into account your commissions. Okay? How hard is that to do? We just adjusted that trade to someone that wants to trade it smaller. Easy to make that adjustment. Okay? Someone asked the question, how do you set the targets? I'll show you that when we finish these two trades, okay? Because I want to try and finish this up in about an hour, and then I'll stop the recording and we'll go over those other questions, okay? If the trade gaps up, what do the rules say? If the trade gaps above 25.01, it has to open below here to enter the order. If it gaps above, there's no order. And why is that? If it gaps up to 25.50, what does that do to my whole trade? Everything changed, right? Now I could come in here and replan it at the new prices and see if it worked. But if I chase it at that price, I don't know what I'm up against now. I don't know what I've done. I've introduced emotion into a business decision, and it'll screw you just about every time you do that. Don't let emotion interfere with your trading. If it doesn't fit, don't trade it. There's too many trades out there to trade to waste your time chasing around something that doesn't fit. Right? Trade your trade. And only your trade. Yep, it's got to go through my trigger. Okay? So let's look at the next trade. I'm going to save those changes. Now I have a planned trade here in PVG and a closed trade on PVG. So that's the planned trade, because I still like the chart of PVG. Let's take a look at the chart. And what do we have going here with PVG? It's conditioned on the it's a conditional order on the price. So I set the condition that the price has to cross above 25.01 and then buy the stock immediately. So it's conditioned on the price of the stock. I can show you that here in just a little bit if you want. So I've got my little box forming here, just like it formed here and it formed here. I have the same trade forming here. If I look at my naked chart, look at the balance of power the strength that's coming in. We had the same thing here. Strong move, the pullback. Look at the buying going on here, and the stock rose. Same thing could happen here. Now, the only thing that's worrying me about this trade is we're getting a little bit far away from trend. So the possibility has to be considered. Instead of it going through the top, it breaks down through the bottom, right? That can occur. So the box works both ways, but you can see how it's worked before. And so I've set up another trade here on PVG. Now notice out here on PVG, I'm kind of in blue sky. If I go to a 2-day chart, I have some price levels out here. Now I haven't set some of this stuff up in this trade as far as the trigger, because I wanted to show you how I might set that up, the trigger. Okay. So there's prices out here. If we look back, we can find them. And those will be targets that we'll reach for. Okay. Again, I'm going to say this is not what I would consider one of the best trades out there, but there's just not many that aren't overstretched right now for a trade. Okay. So let's look at the trade. Same thing, SPY's trending up. SMA is above the 50. The 50 is rising. Indecisive multi-doji consolidation, basically. And it is a pop out of the box pattern. So how do I want to enter this trade? Well, I've got my entry at 1209. So I'm going to require that the stock, PVG, opens less than 1209. So in the morning when I look at it, it has to be below 1209. It also has to be above my stop loss. So if that occurs, I'm going to enter order. Only if it crosses above the trigger will I be in that trade. Okay. This one I set up large too. You can see I set up 300 shares on this. That's larger than it suggests. Oh, by the way, over here I should put continuation. Notice I've got a max 250 loss on this. And you can see that I've got it 249.98 with 300 shares. How about that? The software does calculate correctly. But let's adjust this again, because this is out of the box, right? We're trading too big. And notice I only set 2 targets here. So let's take this down to, can we do 275? Oops. It's giving me an error here. I've got to put that 300 back in and then get rid of these, because I was trying to, the software's looking at it and said, hey, you're trying to exit more shares than you're trading. So it gives you the error. So I'm going to go back and put 275 in here. 275, we're still over 3% of our account. 3.33%. So can we trade 250? 250 puts us at 303. Now that would be close enough to me. But if you wanted to go lower, you could certainly do that. So on target 1, On target 1, how many shares do we have to sell to reach our goal? Well, I need $78 to reach my goal. If I close out 100 shares at that price, I reach my goal. But let's say, since I've only got 2 targets, I'm actually going to close 150 of them. Whoops, I'm not going to close 1,500 of them. I'm going to close 150 of them. $121. Now the reason I like to shoot for more than my goal is because I know not every trade's going to be a winner, right? So if I'm shooting for more than my goal on those targets, the ones that win take care of those small losses that we take. Okay? And I'm going to take out my last 100 shares here. So now I have a trade that I'm comfortable with, that works for me. I'm actually risking only $200 on this trade. I can make this trade happen. It's 12:07. Let's look at it. Oh, I typed something in wrong, didn't I? Typo. 12:07. Good catch. Look at that. That puts me within 0.02%. Pretty simple to make an adjustment here. Find out what works for you, how you're comfortable with that trade, right? So those 2 trades. Now I'm going to show you just a few more that I really like, that I didn't plan, that I think have some potential. STX I think is a really good looking chart. If that would pop above that area, that line that I've got right there, that would start to look really, really good. CLVS is another. Notice we've got a little pennant pattern formed here. I think this one goes higher. Got nice potential up here. If you entered in somewhere right about here, you get up here, that's about a 14% just to this first target of price. STX is up. Did they report? Oh, they are up big. Look at there. They're currently priced right here. So we'll have to look at that. We'll have to wait. Let the trade come to us. Pretty simple stuff, right? Let the trade come to us. There's a bunch of them. KSS, a lot of retail's looking good. KSS breaking above. The only reason this wasn't a planned trade is I needed to pull back or consolidate here before I enter my position. That's all. I just wanted to pull back or consolidate a little bit here and then give me an opportunity to put a trigger in to enter it. Notice that I've got balance of power starting to come in here on the bottom. Lots of retails looking like that. Macy's doing the same thing. Excellent looking chart. Now we have to set up our trade. Okay. Let's see. EQY was close to being a trade. The only reason it's not is these real estate investment trusts. They can be really, lately they've been moving because the market's been scared. Maybe they'll continue to move. I don't know. A lot of times they just die on the vine. So I didn't make this a trade, but we certainly have a pop out of the box pattern here forming. Anybody could set that up. We've got Bob. CLDX. This was actually a planned trade that failed. Did not make the trigger line. That's why I set a trigger like that. It didn't reach it. I didn't trade it. So now I'm not going to throw this out. I'm going to wait to see if it can make itself another trade. You can make a dividend adjustment, Rob. Let's cover that next time, okay? I like MOH here. I think MOH has got some potential. I like NXTM. Moving up nicely, great bop. Look at this tight consolidation here. What a beautiful pop out of the box, and I'm just mad that I missed it. Could it do that again? Well, we got one little doji here. Could we get one or two more and have a mat hold pattern? Absolutely. That's why it's on the list as a potential trade. AAOI. Pulling back from resistance. See that resistance right there? Doink. Still in a trend. Waiting to see if it can make something of itself. Hey, Ed. So there's lots of potential trades out there. A lot of them, the only reason they're not being traded right now is because they need a little pullback or a little rest. BKE broke out. Now just prove to me it can hold that level as support, and I'll be all over BKE. So lots and lots of these. Dillard's doing the same thing. Broke out. Beautiful bottom. Beautiful rounded bottom breakout, by the way. I mean, textbook rounded bottom breakout. So there's a whole bunch of extra bonus charts that I think are worth putting on a list and watching. Okay, and they need their little pullback. They need their rest before I want to jump on them. I'm not going to chase them. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording.